is about to make a mistake. Doctors will argue that if the others were professionals, they would speak up. But in many a hospital, the nurses will tell you that doctors feel free to yell at nurses in a punishing way, which creates a climate where nurses will certainly not speak up. Doctors engage patients in one-way conversations in which they ask only enough questions to make a diagnosis, and sometimes make misdiagnoses because they don't ask enough questions before they begin to tell patients what they should do. It struck me that what is missing in all of these situations is a climate in which lower-level employees feel safe to bring up issues that need to be addressed, information that would reduce the likelihood of accidents, and, in healthcare, mistakes that harm patients. How does one produce a climate in which people will speak up, bring up information that is safety-related, and even correct superiors or those of higher status when they are about to make a mistake? The answer runs counter to some important aspects of U.S. culture. We must become better at asking and do less telling in a culture that overvalues telling. It has always bothered me how even ordinary conversations tend to be defined by what we tell rather than by what we ask. Questions are taken for granted rather than given a starring role in the human drama. Yet, all my teaching and consulting experience has taught me that what builds a relationship, what solves problems, what moves things forward, is asking the right questions. In particular, it is the higher-ranking leaders who must learn the art of humble inquiry as a first step in creating a climate of openness. I learned early in my consulting that getting questioning right was more important than giving recommendations or advice, and wrote about that in my books on process consultation. I then realized that giving and receiving help also worked best when the helper asked some questions before giving advice or jumping in with solutions. So, I wrote about the importance of asking in my book titled Helping. I now realize that the issue of asking versus telling is really a fundamental issue in human relations, and that it applies to all of us, all the time. What we choose to ask when we ask, what our underlying attitude is as we ask, all are key to relationship building, to communication, and to task performance. Building relationships between humans is a complex process. The mistakes we make in conversations and the things we think we should have said after the conversation is over all reflect our own confusion about the balancing of asking and telling, and our automatic bias toward telling. The missing ingredients in most conversations are curiosity and willingness to ask questions to which we do not already know the answer. It's time to take a look at this form of questioning and examine its role in a wide variety of situations, from ordinary conversations to complex task performances, such as a surgical team performing an open-heart operation. In a complex and interdependent world, more and more tasks are like a seesaw or a relay race. We tout teamwork and use lots of different athletic analogies, but I chose the seesaw and the relay race to make the point that often it is necessary for everyone to do their part. For everyone to do their part appropriately requires good communication. Good communication requires building a trusting relationship, and building a trusting relationship requires humble inquiry. This book is for the general reader, and in this case, the general listener, but it has special significance for people in leadership roles because the art of questioning becomes more difficult as status increases. Our culture emphasizes that leaders must be wiser, set direction, and articulate values, all of which predisposes them to tell rather than ask. Yet it is leaders who will need humble inquiry most because complex, interdependent tasks will require building positive, trusting relationships with subordinates to facilitate good upward communication.